welcome back to the channel, man. Wow, what a absolute ridiculous situation we got in boxing. Man, the WBC has they are terrible beyond belief. Honestly, I'm sitting up here. I did what's good to everybody in the chat before I did it, before I, get into it. But I sat there and watched. I took a day off from doing videos yesterday, just kind of get my head right, get my energy up. And I read all this stuff about I read all the stuff about the WBC and Oscar Valdez and them allowing him to fight, even though he tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug, and the cockamamie excuse that those guys gave. And it's just really, man, it's really time to get rid of the WBC. The WBC. They are absolutely as corrupt comes. It's an embarrassment to boxing. It just makes it look like nobody, like they do not care about fighters' safety. They don't care about how boxing looks. They're one of the three major sanctioning bodies, and they act like they shouldn't be given the right to sanction. I mean, if you're just going to allow your favorite fighters to do whatever they want to do, then what purpose is there for you? It's like the Wild Wild West, man. I'm telling you, I'm taken back, man, that a guy would test positive, and that that he tested positive under rules that you have, under a clean boxing program that you sanction, and you just ignore your program and find some reason to loophole him and just let him out of there, knowing this guy's going to get into a fight under performance-enhancing drugs. And more than that, knowing that everybody knows it. Like, dude, everybody knows he tested positive. All you're doing is making your organization look terrible. I'm serious, man. I'm surprised that ESPN is airing the fight. I mean, that's how disgusting it is, man. But what's going on, Crush the Legend? How you feeling? And if it was a black fighter, there ain't no way. If that was Errol Spence Jr., ain't no way in the world they're going to do that. If that's Deontay Wilder, no way in the world are they going to do that. I would think that it was money, like, if under Canelo Alvarez, even with Canelo Alvarez, when he tested positive the first time, they still got rid of the fight. When he tested positive for Combuterol, they still did suspend him but they've taken it to now. It's like, nah, skip it. We're not doing anything to Oscar Valdez. I mean, who is Oscar Valdez to deserve that level of chicanery, man? I'm disgusted, man. Crush the Legend, what's going on, man? Eric Brooks, what's going on? He said, boxing, politics, money. Clearly, man, those guys, clearly the WBC is run by people that are taking something under the table or something, because that's the only reason I could see why you would do this. It's so blatant. You know what I mean? It's like, usually when you have crooks try to be slick. Crooks try to, they'll try to do something in a way where you don't know what they're doing. But in this particular instance with the WBC, everybody and their mother knows what they're doing, man. Eric Brooks said, yeah, so boxing and politics, I'm 100% with it, man. I'm speechless. I'm not going to be speechless for this live stream, but look, it's time to get rid of them and the WBA. Oh, man. Viva Tu Vida says, salute, Martin. It's time to say something truly today. Really great to have you here today. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I don't feel great about it because I feel like this is something you should never have to talk about, man. Like sanction. I used to be a fan of the WBC when they were saying that the WBC, that's the belt to get. But it's just like, they're so corrupt, man. They're so corrupt that it just shouldn't be tolerated anymore. And it's an embarrassment to the sport of boxing. Good morning, Fannon. What a way to wake up to the notification you are live. Let's hit the likes this morning. Let's talk this boxing. Yeah, man, honestly, man, I don't even really know what to say about these. I don't really know what to say. I mean, I'm dumbfounded by these guys. Do you not have, you say, oh, the almighty loophole. But dude, hashtag if I was black, let me tell you, man, if he was black, he'd have been suspended. There's just no way in the world. I'm sorry. You cannot tell me that this shit does not have something to do with him being Mexican and the WBC being in Mexico. You can't tell me that that he's a Mexican champ. The WBC is a Mexican organization. You cannot tell me that this does not have to do with them protecting Mexican fighters. There's just no way. This is clear biased. There's no way that this is going to be, that they're going to let somebody else go on something like this and they should be gone, dog. I mean, seriously, he said, I'm sick of people co-signing this shit. I mean, the fact anybody that co-signs this stuff is you're full of shit. Okay, you're full of it if you're co-signing this. There's no way, no how, no shape, no form should this be tolerated in boxing, where somebody can test positive for a performance-enhancing drug and just have the WBC say, I don't care, and put them on, and put them on. Don't strip them. Don't do anything. Don't do anything for them, man. It's disgusting. Alex Chavez in that super chat, man. Thank you for the support. He said, a darn shame. Valdez is representing my home state of Arizona very poorly. I guess the rules don't apply anymore. Shout out from Humor, Arizona, man. Yeah, dude, and on top, dude, and the fighter safety. I mean, like, how do you feel like what do you feel like if you're the other fighter? You know, if you're the other fighter and you know that this guy is coming into the ring under the influence of performance-enhancing drugs, and that the WBC knew that he was on performance-enhancing drugs before he let him go, and they're just, yeah, we don't care. Just go ahead. I'm serious. He said black people should hold black people more accountable than this. I mean, I'm not sure who's black people holding black people accountable for. I didn't think black people were involved in this. This is, I mean, seriously, man, I think this is related to it's a Mexican organization defending Mexican champion. This is worse than the Canelo Alvarez thing. I mean, it's worse than Canelo. And they are really obvious with Canelo. But, you know, at the end of the day, dude, it's as dangerous for boxing, man. It makes me nervous for boxing. Because at a certain point in time, dude, I mean, when you just walk all the way up to the line of corrupt, and then you just jump over the line and like we're not cutting this fight off purely, and it's purely money. It's got to be. The UFC got 3 black champs and they on PEDs and EPO. Well, then you need to get rid of them too. I'm not in favor of keeping guys but there's a difference between a guy that you think is on steroids and somebody that you know is on steroids. If you know the guy's on steroids, you do something about it. If you don't know that somebody's on steroids, then you can just, you just don't know. And you say you don't know, and there's nothing you can really do about it because they're beating the test. But when somebody doesn't beat the test, when they get caught and then you don't do anything, what happens to the next guy? Like the next guy that gets caught, you're going to do something to him though, right? But you're not going to do something to Oscar Valdez. You're not going to do something with Canelo Alvarez. I mean, where does the line get drawn? It's just disgusting, man. I mean, Taylor Bell said 100% correct. The WBC was founded and based in Mexico, and of course they're protecting Mexican fighters. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious that they're protecting Mexican fighters. That's not, and you guys can call me a racist. You can call me whatever you want to call me, but it's obvious because Oscar Valdez is not that big a name. Oscar Valdez he would have got stripped of the championship like he should be stripped of the championship, and the belt would be up in the air. There's no other reason to believe that why they would protect Oscar Valdez other than Oscar Valdez is a Mexican champion, and that's it. That's the only reason I can say it. And it's not like it's the first time that this has happened, man. Marvin Barnes says the WBC needs to be canceled, man, without a doubt. They have in my book, they're already canceled. They should not be allowed to sanction fights. The ABC, the Association of Boxing Councils, should do with the WBC what they did with the WBA and tell them to enforce their rules, or they shouldn't be allowed to sanction fights in the United States, period. You should not be, if you're not going to have a set of rules and follow a set of rules, and you are knowingly going to put somebody in a boxing ring that's under the influence of performance-enhancing drugs, and you know it, then they shouldn't be allowed to sanction fights in the United States, period. And honestly, I think it would be a good thing because if it was the IBF would have got rid of them, without a doubt. Don't let an NJ lack, man. We hot. They would ban him so fast. Oh man, come on, man. I mean, the idea that they would not suspend Errol Spence Jr. if he tested positive for a banned substance, was on the VADA ban list, and they test positive for it, the idea that somebody wouldn't get stripped for that is absolutely crazy. And they did it in conjunction with that the poot butt sanctioning body, the state, what was it, the UNICAN? Oh my God, man. Copper Aborigine said that's why there's more WBA Mexican champs too. Look, I haven't counted their champions, but their bias for Mexican fighters is absolutely over the top. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. If you're going to be, just sanction fights in Mexico, if that's what the deal is. If you're gonna just do that, then sanction fights in Mexico and let it be that you're sanctioning fights in Mexico. Then everybody knows that. But if you're going to give that type of preferential treatment to Oscar Valdez, you just need to go, man. And there's nothing else to be said about it. And the people that can make that happen is the Association of Boxing Commissions, by sanctioning the WBC and telling the WBC they can't put on fights in the United States because they shouldn't be allowed to. If you are knowingly going to do that, this guy is on steroids and you know it. You remember, and they defended, what's that girl, the woman's name, where they thought that she was a man, where these people are literally accusing this woman of being a man. And their response to her being a man is that it's just biased and it's prejudiced against somebody that the LGBTQ community or whatever. And then the woman pops dirty for steroids. And then they basically commend her and reluctantly, under pressure, remove her championship. But not this time under Oscar Valdez. It's absolutely disgusting, dude. Said Oscar Valdez has a complexion for the protection. Dude, they got this dude on ESPN talking about, I'm an absolutely clean fighter. I've always been a clean fighter. Then why did you test dirty? If you're a clean fighter and you've always been a clean fighter, then why did you pop dirty? It was in some herbal tea that I took. Oh, it was in the hamburger meat that I ate. Oh, it was, I wiped my counter with a Clorox wipe and it got into my skin. Yeah, we'll take any excuse. Look, dude, don't wipe it's disgusting, man. Seriously, man, I cannot recall a time in boxing where I've been more disgusted than in this situation. There has been a lot. I mean, even like the Tyson Fury situation where he cheated, where it's obvious that he cheated with the gloves. That is that is not as disgusting as this. This is just out and out, flat out corruption in the face of everybody. It's a spit in the face of everybody in boxing. It's just spitting in their face. Like, we're going to do, we don't care. We don't care. We're going to go by whatever rules we decide to impose. Whatever we want to do is what we're going to do. And there's not a standard set of rules for everybody. And it's just obvious that that's what they're doing, man. Unadulterated Truth said, if this was about several fighters from Derek James' gym, there would have been a full-blown investigation. It would have never happened because the first guy to get tested positive would have been suspended. You would never get to multiple guys in the same gym. You would never get to these. It's just the only thing that I can think is that they're Mexican fighters and that they're just trying to defend Mexican fighters. But the fact that ESPN would still put on the fight, crazy, man. Terry Schmoot in the building said, King Fannon, good morning, King. You got to switch the mic. Yeah, still in video. Oh, Jesus Christ. No wonder, man. Can you hear me better now? Sorry about that. I think you need to turn up the mic sound. Okay, I think y'all need to turn y'all's mic up. The sounds fine to me now. Some people can't hear because I had that volume too low, man, in that particular situation. But maybe what we need to do is just let everybody get on steroids. Maybe that's what we need to do. Just allow everybody to get on steroids. If they let every black dude in America in professional boxing use these steroids, dude, they would clear that shit out quicker than they possibly you can imagine if that wasn't helping those guys win, man. Freddie Jimenez said, good morning, Fannon. So finally it's Tank and Riley coming in December. That's what the rumor is. Yeah, that's what the rumor is. I'll take the fight, man. Honestly, whatever, get rid of Riley. If that fight happens, then Riley's going to get out of there real quick, and I don't got to hear a whole lot about Riley Romero anymore, because Riley Romero is just he's not on that level of fighter, man. But right now it's a bad dip in boxing right now. Seriously, not a lot of really good fights being made, but this type of cheating from the WBC, it just guts me, man. It guts me, man. Terry Schmoo said, sadly, I was on some channels, and because of this, they want to go wild, wild west and have free reign on PEDs. This kills the integrity of the sport. Look, the WBC has already said it's free reign. The WBC has already said it's free reign on performance-enhancing drugs. So it's clearly already that. I mean, but I'm not going to say you might as well do that. I still have hope for the sport, man. Still have hope for some type of integrity in the sport. But Mauricio Sulaiman needs to be gone for sure. That dude dude, how much more of a corrupt scumbag can you be? Dude, the guy is trying. Mauricio Sulaiman is trying every way from Sunday to ruin the sport of boxing. From this stupid Bridger, from the Canelo Alvarez raising the computer all level to this stupid Bridger rate stuff, to refusing to investigate cheating once it's exposed in the media, to just blatantly letting somebody on steroids, somebody that's on steroids, just allowing him to go into a fight, and ESPN too. What is ESPN doing? Continuing to air the fight. Fighters need to cancel the WBC. The networks need to cancel the WBC. That's who needs to cancel the WBC, the networks. Somebody from the network needs to come in and say, look, I'm sorry, but we cannot put somebody that is on performance enhancing drugs, knowingly put them under performance, on the stage, knowing that everybody knows this guy is juicing. I'm sorry. Top Rank needs to be ashamed too. But, it's in an environment where, boxing is very strapped for cash, clearly, because of COVID and, the fact that there's, not a lot of money to go around. And, maybe they think that Oscar Valdez is some commodity really to be protected. But it just seems to me like cowardice on the part of the WBC, and them having a payday coming and them not wanting to give up that payday. Because, if they're not going to defend the rules, who is, man? Blue Knight said they trying to drive black people out of boxing, it seems, the fighters and the fans. I haven't been around a lot of chats, but anybody that's defending this stuff what they're about. That's all there is to it. If you hear anybody that is defending this, you know what they're about. You know what their channel's about. You know what they're about. And it's not even work. And it's not even, it's just what it is, man. Said David Benavidez should feel slighted by the WBC. Oh, well, they're mighty selective. The cocaine is a stimulant. They stripped him from using cocaine, and they don't strip Oscar Valdez. Well, obviously there's obviously the Bob Arum aspect of this and the influence that Bob Arum has, but they all need to be held responsible. Copper Aborigine said, imagine Deontay Wilder was on steroids. Look, you remember what the WBC did with the guy that got caught on steroids with Deontay Wilder, Alexander Povetkin, and how they took millions of dollars out of the pocket of Deontay Wilder by refusing to punish, to acknowledge that Alexander Povetkin had violated their rules. I guess it is. Boxing is so corrupt. It's just disgusting, dog. Said it's all Floyd's fight. Oh, they try to put it on Floyd because they let the IV go. Man, when are you guys gonna stop? Seriously, when somebody has to shut down, a girl just died like last week, but you don't have any morals. There's no justice amongst you people. Seriously, man, I have my boxing channel. We talk boxing all the time, and the amount of silliness that you see coming out of the mouths of certain boxing fans and certain people that just will support anything that their guy wants to do. I'll tell you, if Deontay Wilder tested positive for steroids, I would say suspend Deontay Wilder. If Errol Spence Jr. tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, I would say suspend Errol Spence Jr. it is the right thing to do. And at a certain point in time, people need to do the right thing. But to flaunt that you have a clean boxing program and you're trying to help them clean up the sport, but then to ignore them when they catch somebody and to praise the guy that gets caught on top of it, it's silly, man. Marvin Banks said, respected Caleb Plant for calling Ed Reynoso and Canelo out on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, everybody should be doing that. And everybody in boxing should be doing that. I saw Andre Ward's, what he said. He's like, yeah, I said it's money over morals. I mean, these guys are fighting on top of just getting the competitive advantage over somebody by cheating. For Oscar Valdez to sit up there and say, I've been tested 31 times. Yeah, but you got caught. Yeah, it took you 30 and you got caught. You got tested 31 times or whatever and you got caught. So now why don't you sit this fight out and set out the next year? But they need federal intervention, man. Really. Otherwise, okay, said Naquan McClellan said Mexico is run by the cartels. You think the WBC is any different? Look, I don't doubt it. I don't care, honestly. Because if they're putting on fights in Mexico, then cool, put on fights in Mexico. Do that in Mexico. But if you're doing fights in the United States, then the U.S. Congress should be involved in it because that's the the Association of Boxing Commissions. The Association of Boxing Commissions should call for them to lose their right to sanction fights in the U.S. And if they don't adhere to that, then you know what they are. But I mean, at the least have a public outcry for it, you know? Yeah, exactly. They want the U.S. market, but still, you got to come on, man, fight fair. Receiving a hand injection, there's a big difference. Look, if you are cheating and you get caught cheating, punish the cheater. You have rules, punish the cheater. What's the problem? And that's all you should do. That should be it. But I'm telling you, it's the networks and the money in the networks where people are like, are willing to do anything to get their hands on the money, the WBC included. And if the WBC isn't going to be legitimate, then the WBC should go, man. Says stop saying their names and acknowledge them. I don't really know how you can do that. I mean, racism is, look, it's favoritism. I don't know if it's racism because it's not like they're going out of their way to punish black people when black people aren't doing something. It's the favoritism that they're clearly showing Canelo Alvarez's camp and people with Eddie Reynoso. It's obvious, man. And the fact that Canelo Alvarez walks in there looking like a ball of steroids every fight doesn't help either. Because that's what Canelo Alvarez every fight looks like a big ball of steroids. Every time he walks in the ring. Like you're thinking like, come on, man. Can we at least pretend like there's some fairness in boxing? And he said, be easy, said before he died, Senator John McCain advocated for VADA testing for all of boxing along with a pension and medical plan, especially after fighters retire. Look, I don't know how you would administer that. I'm in favor of anything that is good, that is going to help boxers and make things fair. I want to watch a boxing match and watch a fair boxing match and know who the best fighter is because this fighter and the other fighters coming in under the same rules. This stuff that they're doing with Canelo Alvarez and what they did with Oscar Valdez is obviously just cheating and having a sanctioning body that is willing to do absolutely anything to have their guys look good, even if it ruins the sport of boxing, even if it makes everybody lose their faith in the sport, in the fairness in the sport of boxing, because now you can look at it and that people get into the rings, that they get into the ring under the influence of performance enhancing drugs. It's not even a question because when they get tested and they get caught, they still let them fight. That's something that I thought was going on. That's something that I thought was going on for sure was going on over there in the UK with Dillian Whyte, where Dillian Whyte gets tested positive and then they just take any excuse and they let him fight and they don't investigate it until after the fight takes place. It's like, come on, man. You've got to do better than this. And the best way to do something about it is by getting rid of the WBC altogether and not allowing those guys to put on fights, man. I don't know about it's just crazy. Boxing is getting exposed. This is the worst. This is the worst example that I've seen. I mean, people argue about, like, people get up in an uproar about the cards, like when clearly boxing, we're like and what's the name of that? What was that fight? The fight between Michael Fox and Maestra. It's like that obvious cheating. People always get upset with the judges. But in this particular instance, this is corruption at the root, man. This is the root of it. You can't get any more. I don't think you can. How can you get any more corrupt than this? When the corruption's in the sanctioning body. The sanctioning body's job is to be the one that is going to watch and make sure people follow rules, to make sure that it's a fair fight, to make sure, that both parties treat it fairly. That's why they're sanctioning it, right? You're saying we have a set of rules, we have a set of procedures that are going to ensure that we get a good, fair boxing match. And Fannon, according to Mike Coppinger, the same official from the ABC who took action against the WBA is the same person who defended and wrote a letter of explanation to the WBC for Valdez. Hey, I'm seriously, man, boxing is just corrupt. I love boxing. I love it. But, man, this is absolutely the most corrupt thing I've ever seen. I've never heard of anything this corrupt in basketball. Never. To say if somebody got tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs and got put right back out on the court, like it's gambling. It's just, dude, that's the only expression that I can really have today is disgust for what the WBC has done and disgust for what ESPN is doing by airing the fight. ESPN should pull the fight and say, hey, man, I'm sorry, we can't do this, guys. Sorry, not on our network, because it doesn't. The sanctioning body's not the only person that could pull the plug on that. ESPN could pull the plug on it and say, look, sorry, you guys can't. We cannot allow this to be happening on our network, where we're going to put somebody in a sport where people are risking their lives and there's a legitimate chance that somebody could get hurt and killed. What happens if that guy gets hurt in that fight? Just think about it. What happens if in that particular fight, the guy that he's fighting, Concepcion, whatever his name is, forgive me for not remembering his name. What happens if he gets killed in that fight? And the WBC had let Oscar Valdez in the ring knowing he had used performance-enhancing drugs. Then what's going to happen? Then you get federal investigations and you get all of that stuff coming down on boxing. And then boxing, which is a sport which is completely about violence. Dave Matthews, would you say? As in the Dave Matthews Band. That is, it's the same person who defended and wrote the letter of explanation to the WBC for Valdez. As if the WBC needed a letter of explanation from Oscar Valdez. No, well, we think you need to use the VADA rules. Another boxing cheating scandal involving Top Rank. Top Rank is the top of that. Top Stank. They're just the top of it. But look, it's getting a lot of publicity. It's not like they're not taking a hit on it. At least people are all saying it, and you have people that are knowing what's going on with them, because in the age of maybe they need to adjust. Maybe this is a positive way to think about it. The fact that they used to probably do all this stuff all the time before the internet, and they didn't face any pushback from it. In this particular situation, they're going to get a lot of pushback. They're going to get a lot of negative publicity, and they deserve it. So maybe, it'll limit the amount of stuff that they do. But in this particular instance, it just has to feel, I have to feel like there's just, organized crime is hard to put in it, but man, it looks organized to me. Stephen Stewart said, whenever you see cheating like this, you're being shown that the top brass don't care. They want their money. Exactly. CG Cap said, Bob Arum knows what's up. He doesn't like promoting black fighters, but they're his best talent. You will never see this with black fighters. You'll never see it. You will never, ever, ever see it. No way, no shape, no how. Jean Pascal tested positive for steroids. Jean Pascal got stripped. You know what I'm saying? If a black fighter in the United States gets caught for steroid, they're going to get stripped. Period. There ain't going to be no infrastructure of people writing letter of explanations for them and all kind of nonsense like that. It's just that it's that the sports powers that be have accepted cheating and steroids, and they think it's fine. And as a result, you know that there's a whole lot of people out there that are using performance enhancing drugs. Period. Reggie Reg 911 said, top black fighters should stop looking for a payday. Don't mention fighting Canelo or fighters in this camp. I mean, Canelo's not fighting him anyway. They don't have to mention trying to fight him. They're not fighting him. They're not fighting him anyway. Canelo Alvarez is not fighting black fighters. He fought Daniel Jacobs, but after that, no more. And I don't see him fighting anybody moving forward, man. But I mean, I've lost all respect. I've lost all respect for Canelo. I've lost all respect for anybody coming out of Eddie Reynoso's camp. Because that is, at this point in time, you guys are juice factory. And there's no way around it, dog. You're not going to have that many people coming out of your camp testing positive for performance enhancing drugs, and you guys aren't playing with something to get advantage over the competition. It's just clear that's what you're doing, and that's all that it is. Canelo Alvarez does as well as he's doing because he's allowed to use steroids, and that's why he feels comfortable moving up in weight because he's allowed to put on a bunch of muscle. He's allowed to use drugs that allow him to put on muscle and keep his body fat down at the same time. They're allowed to use drugs that are going to allow them to get their endurance up, and they're allowed that by they're allowed to do that by the top boxing brass because they're the ones that they believe are going to make the money for them. And as a result, boxing's just not a level playing field. Because they openly allow steroids, but you get to see. But hey, man, he said the Juice Crew #1 single is NBF. The Juice Crew, that's what they are, man. Seriously. He said, damn, the whole WBC eats contaminated crowd. Yeah, it's just. Deshaun Thompson said, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, John, for your 2 cents. What did John talk about? Look, there's no way there's just no way to defend the WBC. There's no way to defend the WBC. There's no way to defend Eddie Reynoso's camp. It just stinks all the way. It stinks all the way around. And even little Ryan Garcia over there looking like he put on 30 pounds of muscle in a year. Yes, you guys are juicing, and you're juicing. Everybody knows you're juicing. And that's why I put Canelo Alvarez out of my number one pound for pound position a couple of years ago, because it's just, it's readily apparent that you guys don't want to fight fair. You want to cheat. And that's seriously, man, that's cowardice for me. I think they're cowards, because if you can't win straight up yourself, what do you need to do all that for, man? What do you mean? If you can't win without that, and they're saying, oh, well, I was using it out of competition. You're still using it. You know what I mean? Ryan Garcia is on estrogen juice. Man, look, if you're in that camp, I'm suspect. Them and Dominic Ingle, out of the UK, that Dominic Ingle camp where everybody comes out looking like a bodybuilder. That's not how you should look, man. You should look loose. You should look lean. But, it's just a joke at this point in time. Ron Miller said, Canelo is no longer a good fighter in my book. Him taking steroids is a testament to the fact that he's not a good fighter in his mind either. Pretty much. And to their supporters, full well you don't think they can beat black fighters. I'm just going to go all the way with it. You don't think that they can beat top fighters if they don't juice. That's why you support that. You support that because you don't think that they have the athletic ability on their own to defeat top fighters. So you're okay with them taking an advantage and you want them to win no matter what. And so you're part of the problem too. The fans are part of the problem. Deshaun Thompson said, John Fury said Wilder no issue and they're fighting AJ in December. Yeah, we saw that. Another steroid abuser. Without a doubt, Tyson Fury. Somebody that people know have tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs before, but when it's mentioned and when his greatness is mentioned, nobody ever mentions that he juices. You know? Because you want to be the winner no matter what, dude. We be cheating is what that is. D. Brown said WBC, beta boy crew. Because they don't think that they can win, man. Oh, I already told you they believe melanin is a PED. Absolutely, people believe that. Without a doubt. They believe that. They believe that we're on Negroids, so they get to take steroids. And they're okay with that because if they weren't using those steroids, they would be getting beat. If Canelo Alvarez wasn't on juice, Canelo Alvarez would be getting beat. Period. He wouldn't be sitting up there being able to move up to 175 pounds, looking and be able to lay these real powerful shots on cats because he's juiced. And it's obvious that he's juiced. So I'm not even no need to even play with it anymore. CG Cap said, Fannon, they know they can't fuck with black American fighters to beat any B-level blacks, let alone elites. Look, seriously, man, I don't believe that that's the case, that they cannot compete with black fighters without steroids. I don't believe it. But I definitely do believe that they are trying to cheat anybody they get in the ring with because Canelo ain't fighting black fighters. He's not fighting them. So he's using steroids just to get the competitive advantage against anybody he's fighting. He's trying to cheat anybody that he's fighting. Oscar Valdez is trying to cheat anybody that he's fighting. You know what I mean? So it's Marvin Banks said, Fannon, you're going to make these Mexicans upset. Look, man, I don't know what to do. Seriously, I don't know what to say. That's what it looks like to me. And I'm not saying that it's a Mexican organization defending Mexican fighters. And that's what it looks like to me. I'm not going to cut it short and say, oh, I think that it's just about Canelo Alvarez and just about Oscar Valdez. I don't believe that. I believe that the WBC is in Mexico and they want to support Mexican fighters that are doing well. Apparently, because that is what they're doing. When you allow Canelo Alvarez to fight, even though Canelo Alvarez tests positive for performance enhancing drugs, and you lower the level of Combuterol, you lower the threshold for testing positive, so that he can have more of it in his system without testing positive, you are catering to Canelo Alvarez. That was obvious. But for a fighter to test positive for a banned substance under VADA, right, and for you to say that's not a performance-enhancing drug and allow the guy to fight, then you are clearly showing another bias. And if you can show me them doing that for somebody that's not a Mexican fighter, let me know. Okay? They did that with Angela. You said if truth affects you, it's not our problem. It's your bad. And it is. It's not on me. That's on you. It is what it is. That's who they're doing it for. That's what it looks like what they're doing. And I know people aren't going to say it like on ESPN or whatever, but come on, man. People over there in the UK have a bias for UK fighters. A Mexican organization can have a bias for Mexican fighters. And that's the only way that I can justify this thing happening. Be Easy said, one of the reasons the Manny Floyd fight took so long is because Manny was on juice. Floyd Sr. called it out, and Manny hasn't had a KO since. The fact that Manny's on, look, you can just, much love in that super chat, man. Hey, and by the way, thank you guys for everybody that supports in the super chat, man. It really do appreciate you, man. You say, yeah, exactly. Alejandro Jimenez beat up Franchon juiced up. Exactly. On juice. And people were like, when somebody said they thought that chick was a man, they were like, oh, you're being biased against her because she's a member of the LGBT. No, because she sounds like a man when she talks. She sounds like a man when she talks. And I shout out to Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie Malignaggi deserves a lot of credit. Seriously, I know he ran his mouth off about a lot of nonsense, but Paulie Malignaggi deserves some credit. He deserves credit for sure because he was pointing this out, because he pointed that out about Canelo Alvarez. Like, come on, man, look at this guy. How long are you going to let it just go that this guy is juicing? And you have other people that are going to try to come up in the sport, and you can tell when you see somebody fighting somebody that's juiced. It's like you remember that fight with Demetrius Andrade and Williams? What was the guy's? Is it Liam Williams? Dude, Liam Williams is so obviously juiced up. Like, in my opinion, he looks like he is so clearly juiced up that every time it's like he would get hit and get hit and get hit, and then he just Energizer Bunny, veins popping out all out of the top of his forehead and stuff, man. Ron Miller said, Martin, have you seen Andy Ruiz's new physique? If that's not PEDs, then I don't know what is. He never looked so fit in his whole career, but now after a year with Eddie Reynoso, he's become this. I have to see his physique in real life before I say that. Okay? With Andy Ruiz, Liam Williams, man, come on. Liam Williams was so juiced up during that fight, man. Man, come on. And then they say, oh, well, Demetrius Andrade's not that good. As soon as Demetrius Andrade gets on that stuff and starts looking like that, all of the accusations in the world are going to come out on him, like with Errol Spence Jr. When Errol Spence Jr., because Errol Spence Jr. got some puff under his nipples, he gets blamed for steroids by everybody under their mama. But Oscar Valdez gets caught dead red-handed. Yeah, exactly. These athletes be using Photoshop. I got to wait until I actually see, because one of the pictures where they showed his ab, I was like, that's Photoshopped. That was Photoshopped. You know what I mean? I actually have to see Andy Ruiz's body before I say that. Canelo Alvarez's body, on the other hand, it's like, come on, dude. These guys got some great physiques. Those hey, I'll tell you what though. If those guys are on steroids, those new trainers they got are amazing because they ain't usually built like that. You know what I'm saying? They're not usually built that ripped. You know what I mean? I mean, these guys are ripped with bulging muscles and can fight all day long. And I'm gonna just kind of repeat it. If these guys are not on steroids, I would really love to know who is. If Canelo Alvarez is not on steroids, please tell me somebody that is. Somebody that looks and behaves like they are. Because Canelo Alvarez should get on steroids. Because if Canelo Alvarez ain't on steroids, he should get on him and go fight Anthony Joshua. Because he ain't but that far away from having more power than Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? Because on the real, how much bigger can he get? Oscar Valdez, how much more cut can he look? How much more rips? It was like, you remember when Juan Manuel Marquez started a fight with Mimo Heredia, and he came in for that Manny Pacquiao fight? This is the first day that I'm going to admit it, because I was messing with Manny Pacquiao fans, because Manny Pacquiao fans get on my nerves. So when Juan Manuel Marquez came into that fight, and it was obvious that Juan Manuel Marquez was on steroids, I was like, I don't know. But Juan Manuel Marquez came in looking like the Hulk. Like after 3 fights, the way that he looked completely changed. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got cut biceps and his quadriceps are all big and like come on, man. It's a joke at this point in time, man. And clean fighters, hey man, commend you. I commend the clean fighters out there, dog, because you guys are beating some gorillas, literal gorillas out there. Like, what's that other steroid monster, the Jewish cat out of New York, that wind up popping dirty, man. K.O. Dub said, Fannon, like when Fernando Vargas fought De La Hoya, he had never been so ripped in his whole career, got popped for PEDs right after fight. Obviously, man, like, you're not even hiding it, man. That's the thing. That's why these guys are coming out saying, hey, let's just all get on steroids. If everybody's on steroids, then the playing field is even. No, it is not. No, because not everybody can afford the same steroids. And it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to start getting kids at 16-year-olds on steroids? 15-year-olds on steroids just to dope their bodies up to see what they can. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. But you guys but that's okay. But as I've known it in the channels, like the channels that have no morals, and are just willing to say whatever they want to say to get to do whatever they got to do. It's Fannon. It's all natural. Then why don't fighters at Robert Garcia's camp look like Team Canelo and the Juice Crew? Man, exactly. They need to get there, dog. They need to go ahead and get there because they're afraid of getting caught is what it is. Because they're afraid of getting caught and they got some damn decency about themselves, man. Eddie Reynoso in that camp is just get out of here, man. Get out of here. You guys are trying to cheat the system, and you're going to be the number one gym in boxing, and you're going to use steroids to do it. Good job, Eddie Reynoso. Okay. The gig is up. You guys are just on steroids, and you guys don't need to be respected at all. You just lost all the respect. Totally lost my respect. I don't believe Canelo Alvarez for nothing, man. Said Benavidez's dad been called it. Yeah, I mean, dude, you should. I mean, I talk to people, but I hear from people, and they all say that stuff. It's like, and the funny thing is, when you start talking to people behind the scenes in boxing, when the things that they'll say is just, they'll be like, man, come on. Obviously, this dude's on steroids. Obviously, that dude's on steroids. Obviously, that dude's on steroids. Obviously, that dude's on steroids. And it is, it becomes a joke. But, if you love boxing, is there a limit for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why people want to know why I cover black fighters a lot, because there's not as much cheating. You know what I mean? Like, I do not believe for anything that Errol Spence Jr. is on steroids. I do not believe that Terrence Crawford's on steroids. I don't believe that I don't believe these guys are juicing, because as soon as they juice, they would be the example that got set. You know what I mean? All I can say is poor Gerald Miller. All I can say is poor Big Baby Miller. They went at Big Baby Miller so hard for his positive tests. But Oscar Valdez, just let him on in the door, man. No worries. No worries. If you want to test positive, go ahead, test positive. Who cares? Because it's what it is now, man. Ron Miller said, I actually want Caleb Plant to beat Canelo now. Boxing would be better off without Canelo and his team. Man, I think they would be better off without the WBC. Seriously. I think that they would be better off than the WBC. And even if there was some small reason that you could justify this guy doing it. You know what I mean? Said black fighters start juicing late in their career. Oh, when they need to put the muscle on and all of that, just get on steroids. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Damn, can Big Baby Miller sue somebody? Absolutely not. He could, but for what? You know what I mean? What? He's not. No, it's a totally different circumstance. Caleb Plant is going to get his ribs cracked. Get on steroids. Get on steroids and everything will be, but it's going to bounce back. Like everything comes out in the wash. It's going to, if it doesn't affect them in the ring, it's going to affect those guys outside the ring. And in their long term of their career or their lives, putting that type of hectic shit in your body is going to affect you eventually, man. You cheating your way when people have taken too many punches. When you take too many punches and you take too many steroids, eventually that stuff is going to jack your entire cycle up, your entire system up when you get off that stuff. So, they'll probably have to pay the price after they get out of boxing, because, just because you can endure more punishment doesn't mean that the punishment is not, that it's not there. Putting your body through those crazy workouts and being able to snap back, it doesn't mean that the wear and tear on your body's not going to be there. And, eventually, out some way, one way or another, is going to hit him. Major said WBC ruined boxing with the franchise belt and their obvious favoritism and bias towards Mexican boxers. They're just, hey man, it's obvious. It's obvious. He said you're doing a good job promoting copycat Copy Centro Mexicali. You doing good on promoting Canelo's team. Hey, look, man. I can't suspend anybody. Obviously, I'm just a YouTube channel, man. We just up on a Saturday morning talking boxing. That's it. However, what's going on, chick? What's going on, chick? How you feeling, man? What's going on, man? He said, look what happened to Tyson Fury off cycle. Yeah, man, you get off that cycle, man, it's going to mess up your body. It's going to mess up a lot of stuff. So they're paying. I mean, the fighters are going to pay the price either way. But the trainer, you know, you're in a gotta win to make the money situation. So they're going to do what they got to do, man. You see it all over the place. You know, that's why I'm saying really the sanctioning body is to blame, man. It's to blame. And the networks. The networks to blame. The sanctioning body is the two parties that I blame the most. Is great. We talking real boxing and not Jake Paul. Yeah, man. God. Oh. Yes. I mean, it's tough on me, man. Try to have to talk about Jake Paul. Like, I couldn't care less. It's like I couldn't care less. I actually care about this. But the people to blame on this is ESPN. Period. Because ESPN should call a fight. ESPN can be like, I'm sorry. We can't do this. This is bad publicity for ESPN. I say EK for ESPN. Man, Howard Ellis, man, what's going on with you, man? I'm chilling, man. Just talking this boxing, sitting here wondering when boxing's going to come to its senses. Chillville said Canelo is a habitual offender. Yeah, and a guy that can do no wrong. A guy that gets so much favorites. I don't understand how people think that Floyd Mayweather Jr. got favoritism. Like, I would see there's certain little small things that I would see that went on with Floyd Mayweather Jr., like saying that he renegotiated the weight a couple times. I mean, so what? If you're, I mean, we've gone well beyond the catch weight, like doing catch weights and stuff like that. Now you got guys that are just full blown steroid abusers getting into the boxing ring with everybody knowing they're on steroids and them just saying, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm sorry. We need a payday, so we're just letting them go. But Oscar Valdez, like, is Oscar Valdez that big a deal where they're willing to throw their reputation in the trash can for that? ESPN is willing to throw their name in the trash can for that? They put this PR spin on it. Like, I've never put out one of them guilty PR statements where, you know, the ones where you just look guilty straight out the gate. Like, I've been clean all of my career. I never used performance enhancing drugs to get an advantage. What did you use them for? Like, you never used them to get an advantage. Well, what the hell did you use them for? If you're going to use them to get an advantage. I mean, you just using them to, what are you using them to flavor your coffee or something? Man, get out of here, man. Said the people can suspend the WBC, no money. Look, man, I don't know what to do. Man. It's Mauricio Sulaiman. But Mauricio Sulaiman is so bad. I mean, so bad at his job, dude. So overtly crooked. It had to be like this the whole time. We're just kind of seeing why people said boxing's so crooked. Because on the internet, it has to come out and everybody gets to hear it. And the stuff that goes on behind the scenes can't be behind the scenes, man. The Texan said them knees have a clock on them too. Canelo got a plasma TV for an upper body and skinny legs, holding it for many training camps and cycles too. Yeah, it's going to come back to hurt him. But then he'll get the decision. The only time that I've ever seen Canelo Alvarez get any type of criticism was with Gennady Golovkin. Somebody else that if you don't think that dude was juicing, you're out of your mind. Like these guys are seriously, man. They look like they got needles in their backpack, just walking around with needles, looking like it. But it is what it is. Lawrence Johnson said Ruiz lost 70 pounds with collapsing knees. I'll have to see it on him, man. Fury is probably at home right now eating a big plate of wild boar meat, and they couldn't care less. Never gets repeated in the mainstream media, but, you know, it is what it is. That's the boxing that we love. It can entertain you with this crookedness. DeLon Smith said, I hate to say it and use the play to race card, but it seems like everybody has to do something to try to even the playing field, being the fact that black people are born with enhancements. I don't see, that's the thing, that's the myth, and I don't think that's true. I think first of all, there's not that many black people boxing. But you just have to be very, very good to be seen. If a black fighter is mediocre, they're not going to go anywhere. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a black fighter and you can't fight, you're not going to get featured regardless. You know what I mean? It's just, there's no way out. There's no way. There's not going to be anybody that is going to give you the Tyson Fury treatment. Tyson Fury has gotten more favoritism throughout. He's so used to favoritism in his career that he expects the favoritism. He just flat out expects it. You know what I'm saying? So there's no black fighter that is going to be, if a black fighter is like a basketball player, if you are going to be a professional basketball player and you're black, you are going to be so good. It is absolutely ridiculous when they're going to let some other people on those teams just to kind of balance it out. You know what I mean? But if you're a black basketball player in the NBA, dude, you have absolutely going to be let me put it this way. There are black basketball players that are not in the NBA that are better than some of those bench riding cats that are there. Or to be a coach. You ever notice how in the NBA, the same coaches that are on like the Steve Kerrs and the Jim Paxsons on the Bulls are the ones that wind up being the GMs, you know, to balance it out. That's what I see anyway. You know, it said black people are not born with enhancements. Stop the racism. Yeah, I'm telling you, they're just these athletes that come across that they're just really great fighters, and they come up in gyms where they know how to fight. Gervonta Davis knows how to fight. You know what I'm saying? He's not just somebody that's athletic. He really knows how to fight. They're using these steroids to overcome the fact that they don't know how to fight. Seriously. Because if they knew how to really fight and hit and not get hit, they wouldn't need it as bad. That's why you see them, even though Gary Russell Jr., who is not on steroids, gets in the ring with guys that are on steroids. It doesn't matter what you do. If you can't hit them, you can't hit them. You know what I mean? And so there's a discipline to boxing that if you're a very, very, very skilled boxer and you're able to hit, not get hit, you're going to be able to beat the guy. That's what it is. If you're a very, very good boxer, you'll get through. If you're not so good and you're somebody that is a take one to get one type of fighter like Oscar Valdez, man, Oscar Valdez is trash. He's not complete trash, but Oscar Valdez is like whatever about Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez is going to lose to Gary Russell Jr. Oscar Valdez would lose to Gervonta Davis. He would lose. He's just not that. He's not that good a fighter. These guys are using performance-enhancing drugs to overcome the fact that they're not that good. That they need to they need to be faster. They need to be stronger. But when you're taught how to fight and you really know how to fight, you know, then you know how to fight. And I don't think that these guys' steroids are going to overcome somebody that's just a better, all-around better fighter than you. You're going to lose, man. Say, you're making our point, Fannon, we are different. I'm saying that the reason that I'm saying this, C-Love, is I'm saying that black fighters, there are schools of fighters in black America that really teach you and know how to, and where these guys really know how to fight. They have mastered the craft of boxing. And these other guys have been fighting this. They want to go like what they say, like the Mexican style, where it's hit and not. I don't believe that that's the situation, you know, where the Mexican fighters can't fight. But I'm saying when you're taught where you have to go in there and you've got to stick your chin out and go to war with somebody, and it's really about who's going to who can dish out the most punishment and who can take the most punishment, then, you know, you're in a situation where you got to get on steroids because you're going to have to get into, you know, like Casemiro in that fight with Guillermo Rigondeaux. Man, Casemiro's so obviously on juice, you know, coming up in weight, you know. Now, what's the excuse for black people dominating football and basketball? Football and basketball. When you only have something, when you have to become a great athlete, and they have ways to train you and funnel you. There are black basketball and football programs in every black neighborhood where you have excellent coaches that are teaching you how to fight, teaching you how to play the game. But in order to be good at a sport, the number one thing is to be good at the sport. Michael Jordan is not just a good basketball player because he can jump and because he can shoot. That gives him the advantage over people that are as good as him technically. But if he wasn't a technically very, very sound basketball player, he would have never been able to do the things that he said. He'd never be able to do the things that he's been able to do in a box, in a playing basketball. You have to be good at the actual sport. And what I think that they're doing is that they're trying to cheat the sport, and they're just not that good. Because if they were that good, they wouldn't have to do it. They wouldn't feel the need. Yeah, genetics do play a part, but the individual person's genetics. Not every black person's a great athlete. There are a lot of black people that are really great athletes, though. And that ain't no doubt. I'm not saying that there's not black people like that are like in the sprints, like them cats can run. We can run and jump and all that. But the reason why we're successful in boxing, by and large, is because we're better, because they're absolutely very, very skilled. And if you're very skilled and you have the genetics together, you can win the fights. You know what I mean? If you're not that good and as a technician like Oscar Valdez, if you're not that good a boxer, if you're not that good an athlete, then you use steroids to increase your athleticism and try to catch up with everybody else, Your Dini's Fist said, why do you think cops fear for their lives just by looking at black people? It's tough, man. It's tough, man. Let the man be politically correct. I'm telling you what I really believe. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm telling you that in order to be a great athlete, you've got to know how to play the sport. And when you know how to play the sport and you're a great athlete, then you're going to win. Because it's athleticism, but it's also the sport. I'm telling you that Gervonta Davis is not just good because he's a tremendous athlete, but also because he's a tremendous athlete that really knows how to box. There should be credit given to the trainers. Some of these, like the trainers, they're very, very good trainers. The Mayweathers are very good trainers. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not just an absolute great. He's not just an absolute, physical specimen. He's also somebody that really knows how to box. And Oscar Valdez isn't somebody that's that good. If Canelo Alvarez was as good a boxer as Floyd Mayweather Jr., he would have won the fight. He just was not as good a fighter. So he needs to get a physical advantage, so he takes steroids. Ike Mike said, Fannon, our naturally gifted black athletes need to realize that there is no boxing, NBA, NFL without us. Black athletes need to pool their money and form their own leagues like Ice Cube. I mean, hey, be careful what you ask for, because it seems like that's what Floyd Mayweather Jr. is doing with all this garbage celebrity league nonsense going on in boxing. I don't know, man. It's really tough, man. My mood is not the best for boxing right now, but I don't like to see the flip side of it, Valdez drank an uncastrated tea bag. Yeah, that's the truth. That's definitely the truth. Are conditioned to fear him? Yeah, absolutely. But see, that's also, the reason why I resist that black people are just naturally better athletes is because that's a lot of the justification that people use for racism. Because you're like, yeah, that's just natural for them. That's like, so they think you're cheating. So they think in order for it's just being fair. Because you're not working hard for the advantage that you have. You're just given that God gave you that advantage because you're just some advanced form of a monkey, And if they're going to push the line that you're just an advanced form of a monkey, then that feeds into the line. And I just know I've been around a lot of black people, and not everybody's a great athlete. However, I will tell you that I've been around a lot of others, and it's sometimes you do want to think like, man, you guys are kind of slow. I understand I understand why people would believe that. And there may be something to that, about, the way people in the United States specifically, slaves were bred and all of that and picked for being muscular and, probably threw out the ones that were weaker or didn't, all of that stuff. I'm sure some of that came into play as well. But I just don't want to get lost in the shuffle, the skill factor. because these guys are very skilled fighters, man. And that's why I like them, because I like seeing very skilled fighter. Demetrius Andrade is a very, very skilled fighter. You know, Canelo Alvarez is a skilled fighter, but Canelo Alvarez is he's cheating for an advantage. Marvin Banks said Oscar De La Hoya fought Shaq in an exhibition. He didn't just sell 1 million pay-per-views like Floyd did. Dude, that was I mean, so what? I mean, honestly, man, who cares? Really? Like, I don't care. Who cares how much he sold? That's a crap fight. And if you want to buy a crap fight, I can't stop you from buying a crap fight. But I promise you, he didn't, what he said, he didn't do him. They said Floyd didn't do no $1 million in that. Floyd didn't do no million pay-per-views with that Jake Paul stuff. I don't believe it. I mean, I don't believe it. But it's Sideshow Bob stuff. So, you know, it is what it is, man. There's good fights coming up, you know. Hopefully we can just get enough of the good fights where these kind of garbage fights don't bother you so much, man. Yeah, if we love NASCAR, we'd be racing them things. Yeah, absolutely. DeLon Smith said Mexican fighters are not taught how to hit and not be hit. They're taught how to make fights exciting and stay there and be rock'em sock'em robots to see who hits the hardest and knocks the other dead. I mean, yeah. I mean, but I think that's what they're trying to sell on TV. This type of stuff that they're doing now, man, it's just over the top garbage, man. You know what I mean? It's over the top garbage. With this, it's over the top. It's rock'em sock'em robots, and you know it's rock'em. And I don't think that rock'em sock'em stuff's that exciting personally, but you know, it is what it is, man. Jose Rodriguez said, Fannon, is clean a banned substance, or you can have just a little pop on your blood. Now it's a banned substance, but now after Canelo popped dirty for it, now it's okay. They'll allow a little bit more of it. Look, said that's not true. Exactly. I agree with that. Nacho Berestein is a master of the sweet science. I believe that is true, because Juan Manuel Marquez can fight, man. Juan Manuel Marquez is a great fighter. Barrera is a great fighter. Eric Morales is a great fighter. There's a lot of guys that fight and really know the skill set in boxing, man. So, you know, but they're trying to sell that. They try to sell that just rock'em sock'em stuff, but it is what it is, man. You know, boxing will survive. It'll move on, man, you know. Floyd sold 1.2 with Paul Luggan, so he sold 600,000. If they said Floyd sold 1.2 when Logan Paul, then they sold 600,000. Because if he really sold 1.2, he'd say 2.4. I don't believe that crap for nothing. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it, because I think people got to have better sense than that. People have better sense than that, and it's not that attractive. It doesn't give you the same feel. Like when there were $1 million pay-per-views in boxing, at least I would get a feeling that it was a huge fight. I think they're putting up shenanigans, dog. I don't believe, I think that they're throwing numbers up there and they're saying numbers that are way past it so they can keep, the look that it's a bigger fight than it is, man. I don't believe it. Maybe it could be, maybe that's the case, but I would have to see that to believe it. Like, they'd have to show me the receipts. I don't believe it. But that's just a feeling that I have. It's not like I can prove that that's the case or not the case. Your Danny's Fist said, Fannon, do you think there will be a Floyd Pack 2? Absolutely not. No way. Floyd is washed up, man. And dude, does anybody want to see Floyd fight anymore? Like, really? There's a stopping point for Floyd's career? Floyd need to stop, man. I mean, I don't want to see Floyd fight at all. I don't have any inclination. And I was one of the biggest Floyd fans that there was, man. I was a big Floyd Mayweather Jr. fan. And I do not want to see Floyd Mayweather fight. And if they keep running the same thing, this celebrity thing, man, those numbers are going to go down, man. They're going to go down, and they're going to go down because it's just, at a certain point in time, the thrill is going to be gone because it's not a real sport. That's not there. You're not trying to fight. Jake Paul's not fighting for anything. Jake Paul is fighting. That's a fight for that night, and that's it. And that's what boxing is starting to miss. Boxing is starting to miss. Like, what are people fighting for? When you have so many belts, when you have so many, like everybody has a championship, what are people fighting for anymore? You know, because when the championship belts mean nothing. But it's just such a downer, man. Like, it's a downer, man. Fannon, do you want to see Pac fight? No, not really. I mean, kinda. Kinda. I kind of want to see them. I kind of want to see him fight. I kind of want to see him fight just so his fans can get upset when he loses. Other than that, you know, not really. But at least he was still an active fighter, and he was coming off of a win against Keith Thurman. So, and they were fighting for real belts. Now, if Floyd Mayweather Jr. was coming out to fight for a real belt, then maybe I would have some interest in the fight. But man, what's good, man? That is really good to see you, man. What's going on, my Harry Nation Sports Podcast? Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you and everybody in the LDBC. I hope you well, man. Good to see you. Says, salute for now. Much love. Thanks, man. That means a lot to see you in the chat, man. Thank you very much for coming, Mahari. Terry Schmoo said, Floyd versus Shabby Lame will sell over 1 million. Shabby Lame is the viral TikTok black star overseas whose views most. Please say no. Please say no. I mean, can you stop? Like, please don't give them any ideas. If you're gonna, if it's gonna happen, just let it happen. Don't play a role in it. You know what I mean? Because these guys are stealing boxing. Like, they're stealing the shine. They're stealing the sport of boxing from boxers. You can say what you want about what good it does and all of that. He said TikTok is a free app. Them people ain't paying $59.99 for that, dog. I mean, I have a hard time believing that people paid $59.99 for that Jake Paul fight. I'm so glad I didn't pay. Seriously, man, I'm so glad. Boxing fans ain't interested in that shit. At least black boxing fans ain't interested in it, and I know that for sure. I can't speak for anybody else. But what's going on, man? He said 757 in the building. Semper Fi, what's going on? Semper Fi in the building. What's going on, man? Make sure I get that right, man. Great fights are not being made anyway, Fanon. There are good fights being made. You know, there are good fights being made. But, you know, you're not getting, I think this is a little bit of a separate issue because there's a lot of people not making the big fights, man. There's a lot of people responsible for that, man. Said definitely ain't paying for no Tyrone Woodley. Said, bro, that UA shirt is fire. Oh, thanks, man. The Under Armour shirt. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, man. Man, how do you pronounce that, man? Fontenot. Oh, Mo Fontenot. It's a circuit and it's a sideshow. And for people who want to be entertained and throw their money away, like the rich people who have to pay bills but not buying Jake Paul's S. Yeah, it is what it is, man. It's something to talk about, you know. It's something that'll get out there, and I guess it's something to talk about. But it's as far as I just think that's connected. Floyd, I don't know about that little. I just doesn't do anything for me at all as a boxing fan because there's been a lot of really great fights, man, and that's not a good boxing match without a doubt, dude. That's like playing. I mean, could you imagine that in tennis? There's no way anybody's going to pay that, offer that in tennis. And Jake Paul is obviously juicing. So, you know, it is what it is. DeLon Smith said, Canelo Alvarez is on the juice. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell it what it like it is. I already said it is. I mean, I know he is. He tested positive. I mean, he is. He's on steroids. I can't tell it anymore. I can't tell it any more straight than that. Canelo Alvarez he's already tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and he looks like he's on performance-enhancing drugs, and that's all you can say. and nobody's going to punish him. Nobody's going to, the media is going to look the other way, and the sanctioning bodies are going to look the other way. And then as soon as a black fighter gets popped, they're going to put him on. They're going to put him on, put him on blast and suspend him and do all that and look like they're trying to defend, the integrity of boxing. That's when they'll get on that high horse. But if it's not, they're not going to do it. Seriously, that's what it looks like to me. I don't know how you could. I've never, ever heard of anybody black getting away with that. Like, I don't believe Floyd, as much as people say Floyd got some advantage, ain't no way in the world Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to test positive for performance enhancing drugs before a fight, have his A sample tested, have his B sample tested, and then still be allowed to fight. Ain't no way. Floyd, and I'm talking about the biggest money earner in the history, in dollar for dollar, in the biggest numbers in boxing history. Ain't no way they're going to allow him to do that. They'd be like, they would be up. You know how many people would be up in arms over that? If they were like, Floyd Mayweather Jr. tests positive for performance enhancing drugs ahead of the Manny Pacquiao fight. And you think that this guy's actually going to be allowed to fight? No chance, no way, no chance. They would pull the plug on the fight and humiliate Floyd Mayweather Jr. before they just allowed that to happen. Unless you're saying that performance enhancing drugs are just so prevalent in boxing that people just don't care anymore. And I don't believe it, man. Otherwise we wouldn't have 300 people that ain't hitting the like button in this chat. Man, hit the like button, man. I know y'all got 3. I know we got 100. Man, did somebody leave a super chat? Big time. Michael Kirkland. And I'm sorry, I think I might have missed it. Said, who do you think could have beaten Floyd at 130? Much love in that super chat. Nobody. Let me put that back up here. Nobody. Floyd Mayweather Jr., my number 130 pounder that I've ever seen. Floyd Mayweather Jr. beats anybody in 130 pounds. Floyd Mayweather, without a doubt, loses to nobody at 130. And I don't care what nobody says. You show me a 130 pounder, I'm picking Floyd. Okay, I'm just being maybe Henry Armstrong. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Henry Armstrong. But anybody else at 130, I'm not trying to hear it. Don't talk to me about, I don't care. Oscar Valdez ain't beating Floyd. I would love, you know what though? Let Oscar Valdez get a fight. Man, pretty boy Floyd was a monster. Dude, that's where we can go. 130-pound Floyd all day, man. Let's talk some boxing. Okay? Seriously, man. Put in the chat some things about some boxing. Okay? About a matchup, some old school fighters. We can talk about that for a while, man. Because, dude, that actually makes me happy. To think about Floyd Mayweather Jr. at 130 pounds is like bringing back fond memories. Shakur versus Floyd at 130. Shakur loses. Shakur loses to Floyd at 130, period. You know what I'm saying? Shakur doesn't have the talent that Floyd got. Floyd at 130 was just a ball of talent, like a ball of talent. His hands were extremely fast. He could crack. You couldn't hardly hit him. Man, I'm telling you, Floyd at 130 was just exactly what New World Era Music Group LLC said. Floyd was unbeatable at 130. Absolutely unbeatable at 130. I don't believe anybody's beating him, dog. At all. He said the show must go get man, for real. We can talk about some real boxing now, man. That WBC shit is depressing. It's depressing. Shame on you, WBC, for ruining the sport of boxing. Like, you're just ruining it. And shame on you people that support him. Like, how can you do that? To disagree with certain people about boxing is one thing, right? Like, you can have a back and forth about whether or not you think Tyson Fury cheated or he didn't cheat. But once you know he cheats, you know what I'm saying? This is like Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder, and then out of nowhere, a big brick drops out of his hand and falls on the mat, and they got to pick it up and stick it back in. That's about the same thing, dog, as what we're looking at right now. Seriously, like all of a sudden, Tyson Fury is fighting and his whole hand comes right through the ring, comes through the glove, and he hits him with bare knuckles. And then he pulls his hand up and covers it up and continues on with the rest of the ring round. And they're like, no biggie. It's absolutely terrible. Floyd beats Gary Russell Jr. But Floyd is 126. I mean, Gary Russell Jr. is 126. He's not 130. It's that bad. Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jackie Snape, it is that bad what happened with Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez got caught cheating. Everybody in their mama knows that Oscar Valdez got caught cheating, but yet they don't do anything about it and they let him fight. Okay? That's the same thing as if Tyson Fury got caught in the middle of the fight with his hand coming clear through the glove and nobody's saying nothing and them letting him fight like that. That's the equivalent of it. It's that shameful, man. But Jake Paul, yeah, okay, Abercrombie and Fitch, whatever your name is, you always come in with this nonsense. I'm not caring about that. Okay? Roy Jones, Andre Ward at 160. I'll take Roy Jones. I'll take Roy Jones over Andre Ward. I think his reflexes and his speed, I'll do that. Hey, that's who I got for that. DeLeon Smith said, no, Floyd needs to sit at home and train young fighters coming up and teach him how to be Pretty Boy Floyd instead of what he turned himself into. It's a time. He said, well, Floyd saved boxing today. He did. He got me in a good mood, man. Because, man, dude, I'm telling you, man, I can't tell you. That's why I keep thanking you guys for the super chat so much. Because when I want to do a video, I'm like, man, every time I want to do a boxing video, over the last couple weeks, it's been about some trash. Like, for real, like, it's hard to even get motivated to talk about Jake Paul. Or to talk about Canelo Alvarez, or talk about Canelo Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? Canelo Alvarez getting passes and stuff like that. He said the show must go on. It must go on. You know, Robert said, great channel, Fannon. Who in this day and age do you think got heart like the late Johnny Tapia? Much love in that chat. Who got heart like Johnny Tapia? Johnny Tapia is one of my favorite fighters. Who got heart like Johnny Tapia? Man, that's a good one. I don't know if I can pick any out of the top of my head anybody that just looks like they're just gonna go with it like that. You know who I like though? Vasily Lomachenko. I think Vasily Lomachenko got a lot of heart. I think he's got a lot of heart. I know it's not been shown in the same way that it has with Johnny Tapia, but I think Vasily Lomachenko's got a lot of heart. I think that Vasily Lomachenko would go through a war and would go through a war with somebody. And on an evenly matched war, I think he's got a lot of heart. Let me see it. Heavyweight. Deontay Wilder's got a lot of heart. I think Deontay Wilder's got a ton of heart. And that's why it was so sad that they threw the towel in and didn't give him a chance to finish that fight because, dude, I think Deontay Wilder would have went all the way, man. I think he would have went all the way regardless, you know what I mean, of whether or not they ever would have pulled the fight. And I love that he got mad about them pulling it, you know. So I think Deontay Wilder's got a lot of heart. Chris Ariola's got a lot of heart. That's somebody who's got a lot of heart. Chris Ariola will take a beating and keep on going. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of heart. I think Derek Chisora's got a lot of heart. Derek Chisora is a good fighter. No, he's not one of the top welterweights, but I think Derek Chisora's got a lot of heart. It goes on and on, man. There's a lot of fighters that got a lot of heart that are willing to fight through things and, you know, and when they're underdogs and all that. Johnny Tapia though Johnny Tapia was crazy though. You know what I mean? D Stomach said, nah, bro, not Loma. He used weight draining tactic against his opponent, Rigo, Walters, etc. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but I just envision him. I mean, he just came to mind. I could see he came to mind. You know what I'm saying? I can understand why somebody wouldn't agree with that, man. But because he really hasn't had the chance to show it, I'm just thinking about the way that he's came back from that loss against Teofimo Lopez and how he rushed Teofimo Lopez in the second half of the fight. I think that he would lay it on the line. I really do. As far as the weight draining tactics and all that stuff coming from Top Rank, I think that really comes from Top Rank, more so than that came from Lomachenko negotiating this fight. But there's a lot of funny stuff that was going on with Lomachenko at that time. I'll admit that. Mo Fontenot said, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the best boxing technician in the sport. No matter how fast you are, no matter how hard you hit, he will adapt within the fight and with the boxing smarts. I seen his fight with Zab Judah. Yeah, Z was going to knock out Zab Judah. He walked down Zab Judah. Yeah, Sean Porter's got a lot of heart. Errol Spence got a lot of heart. Errol Spence Jr.'s got a lot of heart too. He's got a lot of heart. I think Terrence Crawford's got a lot of heart. I think Terrence Crawford's got a lot of heart. I mean, when you attack him or he feels like he does push forward and he comes through. So you know what I mean? D. Sugden said, so you say that I get it? I'm not sure what that means, man. No fighter should get credit for being clean. They're supposed to be. Yeah. I mean, hey, there's a lot of them upper echelon fighters that are juicing. Obviously. But Sean Porter, yeah, man. I think Sean Porter's a real deal, man. Absolutely. There's a lot of fighters with heart, man. And hell yeah, there you go. Spence flipped a Ferrari and fought a year later. If that ain't heart, I don't know, man. Yeah. There you go. That's the guy with the most heart. Errol Spence Jr. And he's going to come back from an eye injury. And he's like, as soon as he finds out he's got an eye injury, he's like, yeah, I can't wait to come back. Oh. Gary Russell Jr. versus Jorge Paez at 126. I'll take Gary Russell Jr. I think Gary Russell Jr. is one of the best 126s that I've seen. Unfortunately, people won't get in the ring with him. You know what I mean? Hey, hold on one second. I gotta see something real fast. Hold on one second. Okay. Fahim Sator in that building, man, said when Oscar said Floyd might be the best ever, I believed him. It was after the Mosley fight, and I bet against Floyd. Hey, man. Let's love in that super chat, man. Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his prime is the best fighter. I believe he's the best fighter that I've seen in my lifetime at his natural weight, in his prime at his natural weight. I think Floyd is the best fighter that I've seen in my lifetime. I will tell you that. But I think that Floyd is the best, but at his weight. When you start talking about him beating guys that are like Tommy the Hitman, like Tommy Hearns, I can't go with that because Tommy Hearns is so big. But when you're talking about him fighting guys that are, hey, man, thank you so much for the support in the super chat, Fahim. Yeah, but when you start talking about him at 147, that's when I get like, nah, I think you're getting a little bit overboard with that. People start going overboard. But Floyd is better than Rigondeaux. I mean, as an all-around fighter, even though they're not in the same weight class at all, Guillermo Rigondeaux is a 150. He's a 122, 118, 122 pound fighter, and Floyd is a 130 to 135 pound fighter. Even if they were the same weight class, I would say Floyd was the better fighter. Floyd is a terrific fighter, man. Floyd is a terrific fighter. Absolutely terrific. Floyd walks down Rigo at any weight. Yeah, it's just too small. And Rigondeaux's got a chin problem. That's the weakness on Guillermo Rigondeaux. And Guillermo Rigondeaux knows it, Who wins between Gary Russell Jr. and Shakur Stevenson? I think Gary Russell Jr. beats him. Right now, Gary Russell. I think he would score I think he would score on the I think mid-range, I think he gets him. I think Gary Russell gets him. I just got too much Just got a little too much craftiness for him at this time. You know, but who knows going down the line, that may change. Shakur Stevenson's a bigger fighter, though. DeLon Smith said, I don't know. I think Sugar Shane Mosley would have given him his run for money Sugar Shane Mosley was never at 130. He was at 135. Sugar Shane was at 135. And Sugar Shane at 135, yeah, he might have given him a run for his money. But, you know, I don't know. Shane could pop, though. That's the thing with Shane Mosley at 135. His hand speed was so bananas, and he's bigger than Floyd. Like, he's taller than Floyd, so that might have been a really good fight for him at that weight class. I don't doubt that it would have been. But man, I'm trying to tell you, Sugar Shane Mosley was something ridiculous at that weight class, man. Gary ain't all that good. People trying to make it seem, yeah, he is. That's why ain't nobody fighting him. New York Rican said Edwin Villario versus Roberto Duran. Oh my God. Edwin Villario gets mopped by Roberto Duran, man. I don't get why people think Edwin Villario was so good. I mean, he was exciting because he was so aggressive and all that, but I just think that is just an extremely overrated situation there, man. Butch Cassidy in the building said, what up, Fannon? Been busy with the family. I know I'm late. Hey, man, that's all right, man. As long as you here and you tap in, man, hit that like button, man. Let's see. We got 242 people in there, man. Let's get the likes over 300, man. The highlight, can we discuss how people talk down on Floyd schooling Canelo when he was 42-0 with 15 pounds heavier, but people want to say Canelo was inexperienced? Look, man, people are going to find excuses for that. But he picked him at the right time. I do believe he picked Canelo at the right time. But I don't, when Canelo Alvarez was inexperienced at that level. But the man had 42 fights, so you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to sell your inexperience when you got 40 fights. But, it's Canelo, so Canelo's going to get a lot of credit. But not for me anymore, not with what they're pouring out of that gym. That's just so over the top, dog, what they're doing there. Gary Russell Jr. is so underrated. Why y'all hate? Man, I wish he would get a fight, though. I'm going to tell you, that's a real good fighter that spends way too much time on way too much time not fighting, man. Way too much time not fighting. I wish Al Heyman and those guys could do something to get him to fight twice a year because he's just, he's so I find him extremely entertaining when he's fighting. Looks great. Say Canelo had almost 50 fights. Yeah, you can't, and he ain't changed. Canelo Alvarez hasn't gotten any better since that fight. He's just fighting worse competition. In my book, that's the best competition he ever fought. And his competition level never went up. He's never fought anybody like that since. He's never fought a fighter that was slick. They could slip punches. They could set you up, somebody that could time you, somebody that knew what now it's hard to say, it's hard to find somebody like that is as intelligent as Floyd, but, I ain't trying to hear all that with that stuff. Dwayne Dash said, who's the face of boxing in 2021? If we can't pick one, who's the leader of each weight division? Wow, okay. Much love in that super chat, man. I don't think there's a face of boxing in 2021. Jake Paul. Wouldn't that be sad if it's Jake Paul? But there is no face of boxing, dog. There's nobody at the head of boxing. Nobody. Who's the leader of each weight division? Heavyweight, nobody. Cruiserweight, nobody. 175, nobody. 168, I guess you could say Canelo. 160, nobody. 154, Jermell Charlo. 147, Canelo, Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford is a mix. At 140, Josh Taylor. 135, nobody. But if anybody, it should be Teofimo Lopez. At 130, nobody. At 126, really nobody because they're not fighting each other. I like Gary Russell Jr., but I say nobody. At 122, nobody. At 118, Monster Inoue. At 115, now you're dipping down into to Ioka and people like that. So nobody down there, because that's just like a different sport, you know. But Monster Inoue for everything below that, though, because Monster Inoue, I do believe, is one of the better fighters. I appreciate at that weight class. Now that I can't trust my Rigondeaux to come get him. My man Robert Jarmel says, support for 9, hit the thumbs button. What do you think about Michael Carbajal? I love Michael Carbajal, man. Michael Carbajal was a really great little fighter. It was fun watching him fight. I wasn't as attentive into boxing at the time with Michael Carbajal, but hey, man, I like him a lot, man. I like Michael Carbajal a lot. How you forget about Tank at 135? Nah, come on. Man, Tank ain't in a weight division. Tank ain't in a weight division. Who's he fighting at 135? He just fought at 140. He went from 130 to 140. He ain't fought but one fight at 135. I can't give him that. I can't give him that when he ain't fought nobody at 135. You know what I mean? I can't do it. He ain't fought nobody at 135. He hasn't fought anybody. He fought one guy at 135. Can't even remember who he was. Yuriokas Gamboa. Tank is a star. He is a star. Look, Tank is a star. Tank's a big star. But Tank ain't fighting Tank doesn't have a weight class right now. If somebody could let me know what his weight class is, and then after you tell me what his weight class is, you tell me who he's fought in that weight division, then I can say he's the face of that division. Now, if you ask me who are the top, stars in boxing, I would say, okay, top stars in boxing, Errol Spence, Canelo Alvarez, Errol Spence, Gervonta Tank Davis. Those are the guys that I think are the 3 biggest stars in boxing until Deontay Wilder gets his victory back off of Tyson Fury, But other than that, I think those are the 3 biggest names in boxing: Canelo Alvarez, Errol Spence, and Gervonta Davis. And I don't think there's much doubt there too that it's those 3 fighters are the biggest names. One just happens to be a juice monster though. PG said Wilder gets investigated for saying he goes in the ring wanting to kill and 0 action. 3 people in that Canelo camp test positive for PEDs and no investigation. Sad. Expected. Like Ellie Sethback says, reported. Expected. There's going to be some more of it because you guys forgive him and you're going to support him. You know what I mean? You guys are going to support him. Tank versus Riley won't sell 100,000. I don't know. I think it will. It's a real boxing match. I'll buy it. I'm going to buy it, but I know that Rolly Romero is going to get beat because Rolly Romero is he's a punch dummy. He's going to be he's going to get caught with something nasty. I'm telling you. DeLon Smith said, hey man, hit the like button while y'all in the house, man. Deontay Wilder has a bum leg, has a bad knee, and you constantly put pressure on his legs. He'll fold it by the 7th or 8th round. I think that's what you're thinking. I don't guess it doesn't have bad knees. I think you're mixing that up with Canelo Alvarez having a bad knee. Riley gonna sell that fight. Yeah, hey, Riley's doing the one thing he can do though. Without a doubt, Riley is definitely doing what he can do. He's trying to he'll sell a fight. Talking a lot of smack. Riley will sell a fight, man. But I'm just not a believer, man. I want to see the real fights where they're real good fights. Like, get people, there are fights for Teofimo Lopez, like Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis. That's a real fight, man. That's one guy can fight, the other guy can fight. Rolly Romero, I'm still suspect on whether this dude can fight. What he's going to do when he gets up there, even against a guy like Luke Campbell. I don't know if, seriously, man, I don't know if Rolly Romero beats Luke Campbell. I think he may, who you got it on? You put in the comment section, who wins, Rolly Romero or Luke Campbell? That is a, and I know he ain't beating Robert Easter Jr. Ain't no way he's beating Robert Easter Jr. You know what I'm saying? He's not beating, what is it? Man, remember DeBailes Hurtado? Man, some of these Cuban names with these names, man. Yuriokas Gamboa. You think Riley? I'll take Luke. I'll take Riley over Luke Campbell. Luke is kind of chinny though. But I don't know, man. I might take Luke Campbell on him. But I know he's not beating Robert Easter Jr. I'll take Robert Easter Jr. on him all day. All day. And this might even sound crazier. I'll take Adrian Bronner over him. I don't think he could, as seemingly easy as it is to beat Adrian Bronner, I don't think he can beat Adrian Bronner. I don't have any faith in him beating Adrian Bronner, dog. None whatsoever, man. He just getting arrested for some type of issue. Said, I love a good trash talker. Yeah, I do too. Rolly Romero ain't that good a trash talker though. Like it just don't come out like James Toney's a good trash talker if you can understand what he's saying. You know what I mean? Because there's really something to be there, something to back it up. If you're just trash talking and there ain't nothing really to back it up, then I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm not really feeling you, man. I don't really feel your trash talk because I don't think that there's anything there. But I don't think there's anything behind it. I've watched Rolly Romero run behind a fighter, run after a fighter, winging shots in several fights. And I'm thinking to myself, when somebody fights Rolly Romero going the other way, coming towards Rolly Romero and getting on the inside of Rolly Romero, that Rolly Romero is going to get beat half to death. That's what I think. If Tank Davis can get inside on him and fight him on the inside, he's going to be absolutely clueless. And especially if he gets worn down to the body and he's going to get clocked. That's what I think anyway. Said Rolly is funny as hell though. Yeah, maybe I'm just biased against him. You know? Maybe I'm just biased against him. I don't know. Cause I just think it's kind of it's just too corny for my liking. You know what I'm saying? Robert Easter later, but hey, Abel Mahari in the building, man. Thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate you, man. Said, Wayne Dash said, Robert Easter laid up under Adrian Bronner, wasting his career. Hey, he had some calls though early. He just think he's kind of out of the way. But I think he'll beat Adrian Granados for sure. You know? Said, the GOAT said, these new boxers are all trash, just social media fighters. Not like the Sugar Rays or Hearns or Tyson. Yeah, it would be interesting if they didn't have any other way to promote themselves other than fighting. But, you know, we don't live in that age, man. We don't live in the age where these guys got to actually fight somebody to prove themselves. Rolly Romero is going to get a fight against Gervonta Davis because they don't want to make a fight against the other several very good fighters at lightweight. Even though there's a lot of really good fights to be made in lightweight. Those fights are more than likely not going to get made until Ryan Garcia gets enough of that Eddie Reynoso in him. So till he's at heavyweight, you know what I mean? And can go up weight classes. Yeah, I just think they should all get on juice, right? Ain't that what they say? Please tell me the people. Mark Ambrose said, you're not biased, brother, using your eyes. Rolly gets destroyed inside of 3 rounds. He's just, dude, I'm telling you, for Rolly Romero, if somebody gets on the inside of him and makes him fight up close, makes it a battle up close, and they can do that for like 4 rounds, I think Rolly Romero is going to get hurt, man. Because he is the quintessential cat that is relying on his power. And he's got power for sure. But, you know, yeah, I'm selling on him. I'm just selling on him. Jimmy Hernandez said, to be honest, the WBC, WBA have been corrupt basically since it started. What we have to do is stop supporting boxing in general at all. That's why I started watching UFC like 5 years ago. Yeah, I mean, I love boxing though, man. I love boxing for the sport. There's a lot of really good boxing. There's a really lot of good boxers out there. And there are good boxers that make, I don't believe that the PBC is corrupt like that. I just wish that the promoters could fight. If the promoters would fight with each other, would make more good fights, then the cheating, the little things, not the little things, the little stuff that happened like this wouldn't be so demoralizing, man. But the way they do it, man, it's just kind of demoralizing. You know what I mean? Look, man, if you're here, man, let's get the likes up over 300, man. If he gets a couple wins, they're gonna put the machine behind him. Rolly, yeah, I don't know. I don't think if he gets in there with a good fighter, he's gonna lose. He is primed for an upset. He's just so raw, you know. He's just so raw, And I don't believe that he really deserves to be in the conversation with the other lightweights that are better. I think are better fighters, man. Wayne Dash said, Riley got a lot of heart, though, some serious power. Yeah, he'll crack you. Yeah, now he definitely does have some serious power, and he will crack you. But I don't know, like, I just don't know about the skills that really accompany that. You know what I mean? But look, man, I'm going to get up out of here, man. I want to thank everybody for coming to the chat this morning. It's been a lot of fun. I would appreciate if you guys could get the likes over 300. That would be greatly appreciated. But I'm going to head out now, man. We'll be back tomorrow morning to talk this boxing. So with that, I'm out. Peace.